Welcome, 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 everybody. Welcome to the live review of WWE Great Balls of Fire. Thank you to everyone who has joined us live tonight. An interesting show. Still kind of mulling it over in my head how I feel about the show. I actually, this is live. We're doing it on the fly. I'm gonna make sure a tweet was sent out about what people thought about Great Balls of Fire. Um, I'm going to be tweeting that out right now. So give me 1 second here. But yeah, so I'll try and talk about it. Just overall, I thought this is an interesting show. I would say it is definitely on the more positive side than negative, but definitely some weird pacing, towards the end. Yeah, there was some crazy stuff went down. Um, you got to think this whole Roman Reigns thing. I'm definitely going to be getting to that. Um, and the main event is very. I think it's gonna be definitely controversial. I'm gonna get to a second. Like I said, bear with me, guys. I'm trying to get this tweet out because I want to towards the end of this. Um, get feedback from the Byte Club. What did they think of this event? Um, so just give me 1 second to get this out. I meant to do this earlier, so forgive me. We're live. This is things are gonna happen, and almost done here. All right, tweet is out. Let's get to the stream. Yeah, Kane Yo-Yo, Cynical Cypher, tons of guys joining us. Thank you guys. All right, so let's get to the card. Overall, like I said, pretty good show, but a little weird. So jumping to the pre-show match, Neville versus Cure Tazawa. I thought, for what it was pretty good. Interesting that they kind of did this angle. I didn't really catch the low blow thing, but they're obviously addressing that. So I didn't expect this to go on to more than one match, but it looks like it's going to. I like the whole Titus brand thing, so I'm not too upset that they're continuing with this. So opening the actual pay-per-view itself, we're getting to the main card now. We had Seth Rollins versus Bray Wyatt. And we mentioned before the care, do we care about this feud at all? I know going in I didn't really care too much about this feud, but wow, hey, Bray Wyatt actually gets a sort of clean win. I know there's the whole thumb to the eye thing, but it's about as clean as it's gonna get. So wow, I'm kind of surprised they went with this. So makes me think that they're gonna be going on a little bit more than just what it was. Like this is gonna be a multi thing. Maybe it goes to SummerSlam, maybe not. But with Bray Wyatt just getting that straight up win, I don't think Seth Rollins is done with Bray Wyatt for sure. Moving on, we had Big Cass versus Enzo Amore. Um, Enzo got a fantastic reaction, and they let him get some promo time in there, which I think is very important for Enzo. Excuse me. Um, yeah, I think that's key for Enzo to get that promo time because that's really all he's got the microphone. That is how he connects with the audience. And then Big Cass came in, mainly dominated the match, and it went exactly like I think it was supposed to. But I think there's a great underdog story that can be told with Enzo, and I think that they can't let that go. They can't just spend all their time with Big Cass. There's something there with Enzo. I mean, you see everyone wearing the merchandise and everything. That's all Enzo. Big Cass might be the big guy that becomes something down the line, but don't give up on Enzo because there's definitely something there. So yeah, this match was exactly what it needed to be. Big Cass gets a dominant win. It looks like they'll probably move on from this and tell that underdog story with Enzo. Maybe he joins 205 Live. Maybe he has to work his way up, figure out how he can be effective in the ring. That's a whole story that you can do. In the chat, Cynical Cypher says Big Cass's music is bad. I thought it was what it was. It's not anything particularly memorable, but sometimes a theme will grow on you. I wasn't a big fan of the club's theme, and it actually really grew on me. So I'd have to hear it more. I couldn't, yeah, I didn't have the volume up super high, so I didn't get like the best taste of his music. But he does finally have his new theme, and someone actually took a screenshot of when Big Cass did his pose or whatever, in the way that the camera angle, his head was blocking the C on the back of like the stage. So it just says big ass in the way that they angled it. So they might need to work on that. Anyway, moving on to the tag team Iron Man match. Now, I thought this was a very good match. With a 30-minute Iron Man match, you know exactly the length of the match. So there is sort of this, there's not that excitement of, ooh, this match could end at any point, right? So I kind of liken it to what a lot of people say about like an NBA game, like the only like it only gets really exciting in the last 5 minutes, and I think that's definitely the case with an Iron Man, unless they like book some sort of blowout Iron Man match. But this obviously wasn't the case. But awesome ending sequence. So I mean, you have to pace yourself in the 30-minute Iron Man match, so it's not going to be 30 minutes of nonstop exciting action. And they did a good job of pacing themselves, not doing everything at once, and then just having the ending sequence be super exciting and have the Hardy Boys get so damn close and just not have enough time. Cesaro was great in knowing when to run out, and just basically, hey, I gotta milk this time. I gotta get the hell out of there. So I thought the psychology was good. Everything worked. Well done. Matt Hardy took a hell of a, I don't know how he got hit, if it was a headbutt or whatever, but he was bleeding pretty profusely. Wouldn't surprise me if that was Sheamus's doing. I don't recall exactly how that happened, but yeah, Matt Hardy was looking pretty rough. Hey, Travis Hayes in England, it's 4:20 a.m. Got work at 9 a.m., but it's definitely worth it to watch a pay-per-view. Man, you're dedicated. Thanks for joining us, man. 4 a.m. Holy crap. Anyway, moving on. So yeah, the Sheamus and Cesaro retain. Great match. Moving on to the Miz versus Dean Ambrose. The Miz retains as he should. And, you had some interference and stuff going on with the entourage, but this is exactly what needed to happen. Ambrose loses his chance to regain the IC title. The entourage, the Miz-tourage rather, shows its effectiveness. Everything that needed to be done was basically done, and I think it's just time to move on with this feud. So, good for what it was, but happy to move on. Cody asks in the chat, what do you think is next for Sheamus and Cesaro, to backtrack a little bit? I don't know necessarily if they're quite done with the Hardy Boys. I'm trying to think of another babyface tag team at the moment, and I'm kind of drawing a blank. So I'm not really sure what's next for them. I'll have to think about that one. Anyway, moving on to Alexa Bliss versus Sasha Banks. This was for obviously the Raw Women's Championship. I really liked this match. I thought the chemistry between Alexa and Sasha, I think they really got it down. This was one of the better matches I've seen Sasha in a while. I really enjoyed this. I think Alexa Bliss, she pulled the whole double jointed arm thing again, but I think the way they did it in this match was so much better than when they played around with that on SmackDown, where I forget who she was fooling, whether it was Becky Lynch or I think it was Becky Lynch, but it could have also been Mickie James. But the way that she immediately kind of turned that into an advantage for herself in the match was just really smart. So I think she's figuring out how to use that better. You can only use that so many times. So if you gotta kind of only bring that kind of double jointed thing out every now and again. But yeah, so we get a count out end to this match, but we all know it's, this isn't the biggest show of the year. So Great Balls of Fire, as great as that name is, it is not the biggest show of the year. So that means that they want to drag some of these feuds out. And a Sasha and Alexa Bliss feud does seem like something you want to extend beyond one match. And yeah, I think this was a great start to it. Sure, it feels a little lukewarm to have a count-out win for Sasha, but it's also smart on Alexa Bliss's part to, hey, if I think I'm going to lose, I might as well get myself counted out. So at least it was coming off as a strategic decision for Alexa Bliss. So now, all right, we got Travis Hayes saying Alexa gets shorter every match. Well, I mean, I guess it depends on who she's against. So, it can look that way. Sasha's not too short, so I could believe that she looks even shorter. Moving on to a match that definitely is going to have people talking, or at least what occurred afterwards. Roman Reigns versus Braun Strowman in an ambulance match. These guys beat the living hell out of each other. I thought, it was an ambulance match always kind of leaves things kind of weird because, they can do all that they want to do in the ring, but the match isn't going to end until you get up towards the stage. So that suspense doesn't really come into play until they start working their way up the stage. So anyway, I did like how they got Braun Strowman to get the win, sort of similar in like a fluky way that Kalisto beat Braun Strowman in a dumpster match. They have Braun Strowman just kind of get out of the way of Roman's spear. Roman dives into the ambulance, shuts the doors, and he wins. And I'm like, oh, awesome. This is great. Braun Strowman gets a victory over Roman Reigns. This is awesome. And then Roman Reigns loses his damn mind. I mean, it's clear Roman is just, he can't be a babyface anymore, at least in the traditional sense of the word. And this is some messed up stuff that he's pulling here. So he beats the hell out of Braun. He gets that spear coming out of the ambulance, throws Braun into the ambulance, drives the ambulance out of the, into the parking area of the arena where all the trucks are set up and everything. And all of a sudden, he stops and he's looking in the rearview mirror, just contemplating life. I'm sure you could make a meme out of that. Roman in the reflection of the side mirror, whatever. And he's just thinking. And I'm like, what the hell is this? I mean, because they're getting different camera angles. It's a little cinematic. And you're like, what's going on? Like, why is he just sitting here? And then Roman Reigns decides, yep, I guess I'm going to murder someone, and just backs up this ambulance into another truck, crushing the entire back of this ambulance. And you're like, wow, Roman, the guy who's supposed to be the hero, just tried to murder somebody. And you just got to wonder, yeah, sometimes a wrestling show, it's like, what the hell are they thinking? At least for the guy that they want to be this their golden boy of the company, he's just deciding to murder people. I mean, Stone Cold Steve Austin did some messed up stuff. He did point a gun at Vince McMahon. So, if that's what they're going for, this kind of stuff, maybe that's a way to go. It's certainly interesting. So then we get our next match, which is Heath Slater versus Curt Hawkins, which, for the love of God, you got to think, in kayfabe, this is actually supposed to be a scheduled match on the show. Like, okay, all right, let's roll with that. Let's roll with that. And during this, Heath Slater actually wins off screen when the fire department and other medics show up to use the jaws of life to break open this ambulance, and then Braun Strowman, refusing medical care, and trots off. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. They missed a chance, Travis Hayes says, for Brock saying, I'm not finished with you, Roman. So yeah, definitely a missed opportunity there. So interesting. I'm interested to see most how WWE and the rest of the commentary team are going to justify these Roman Reigns actions. We've seen before when a heel does something and the commentators crap all over it, but then if a babyface does something similar, it's like they dance around him like actually doing this horrible thing that they did. So I'm curious. Roman Reigns just tried to murder someone tonight. How are they going to justify this further on Monday Night Raw? We shall see. So now getting to the main event, we had Brock Lesnar versus Samoa Joe. Now around this time, when they're doing the whole Jaws of Life and stuff, you're looking at your clock on your phone or wherever, and you're like, man, there's only like 10 to 15 minutes left on this show. How much time are they going to give Brock Lesnar versus Samoa Joe? And I was getting nervous. I was thinking it was going to be just a total, complete squash. And, it kind of wasn't the case. But I'd have to say that I was definitely disappointed by the match. So when we finally get to Brock Lesnar versus Samoa Joe for the Universal title, Joe starts wailing on Lesnar before the bell even rings, puts him through a table, and I thought this was a great way to sort of equalize the playing field. Joe's obviously in kayfabe, whatever, not on the same level as Lesnar because Lesnar's just been in a class of his own for so long. So you do the whole table spot to kind of put them on an equal playing field in a way where Lesnar is beat up so Joe can actually get an advantage early on in the match. So there was some good offense from Joe. They actually let him take parts of this match, trying to get the coquina clutch in multiple times. But eventually Lesnar lays his suplexes in, coquina clutches fail, and finally all it takes is one F5 to put Joe down, end of match. It definitely felt like it was super on the short side, and definitely comes off as a slightly disappointing match. I'll say it's more than slightly disappointing. It was a straight up disappointing match. So overall, I'd probably give Great Balls of Fire a 2 out of 4. Probably the Iron Man tag team match I would call the match of the night. I did like what they did with Alexa Bliss and Sasha Banks. But the rest of the card is just kind of just okay. And Brock Lesnar versus Samoa Joe, you could definitely call a disappointment. Was it the worst it could have been? No. And I don't think it also fell too much into that formula of Samoa Joe. Not rather. I don't think it fell too much into that typical Brock Lesnar match. They let it be a little bit more than that, just a little bit more than that. Not saying it was totally different because the Suplex City thing did happen, but I felt like it was a little bit more, but definitely disappointing. So yeah, that's pretty much my overall thoughts. Like I said, 2 out of 4 on our rating scale. Gonna get some thoughts from the chat. We got Travis Hayes saying a 3 out of 4. Travis Hayes also said, I thought Balor and Elias was confirmed. I don't think they ever confirmed it. It definitely seemed implied. Clearly they had enough time for Heath, Slater, and Curt Hawkins, but obviously that was meant to be like a nothing match. Yeah, Cody also shocked we didn't see Balor versus Elias or R-Truth versus Goldust. I mean, they were up against it with time with the matches they had, so I could see why they couldn't fit those. Yeah. Kane Yo-Yo says 7.8 out of 10. Too much non-logic. And Travis Hayes saying, I want Roman versus Strowman versus Brock for SummerSlam. That is definitely a possibility. Yeah, because, I mean, you think with Strowman getting the win against Strowman getting the win against Roman, that Roman's whole declaration for a title match at SummerSlam might be put into some sort of jeopardy. So we'll have to see where that goes. So anyway, I will check in on our Twitter what we're getting for votes for the poll. So actually, we got right now with the voting for the Twitter poll, we've got majority actually saying a 3 out of 4. So majority gave this show a positive review, which is pretty good. So yeah, that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to do it for my review of Great Balls of Fire. Like I said, I thought it was a decent show with some highlights with the tag match and the women's match. Definitely setting the stage for some things at SummerSlam. We'll have to see what happens with Roman Reigns, Braun Strowman, Brock Lesnar, all going into that. And, definitely we want to see what eventually happens with Finn Balor and, his feud with Elias Sampson, because that obviously did not get a spot on the show. But thank you guys for tuning in. We'll definitely be giving our expanded thoughts on Great Balls of Fire and Raw and SmackDown this Wednesday live on the podcast. So you can join us over at youtube.com/Byte That Cast. If you want to go the extra mile in supporting what it is we do, you can head over to patreon.com/Byte That. There is a ton of cool perks that you can see, perks at $1 mark, perks at $5, tons of cool stuff. All the information is over there, so I encourage you to check that out. Thank you, everyone that joined me live for this review. I really appreciate it. And everyone have a great night.